How exploring my father's life helped me understand my own. Like, share, subscribe and ring the bell for more videos. William Damon was a purpose researcher focused on the future. But doing a life review helped him heal from a difficult past. On a quiet afternoon while sitting in my office at Stanford, I got an unexpected phone call from my daughter that changed my understanding of both my life and my field of study. This was no small deal. I was in my 60s, with enough years behind me, one would think, to know who I was and how I got that way. And I had been writing about human development for almost 3 decades. "Dad, I don't know if I should be telling you about this," she said. This got my attention. A young economist, my daughter was in South Africa on an assignment. Jet lag had kept her up late at night. She'd used her sleepless time to dig into some family stuff, online stuff, that might interest me or might upset me, she didn't know which. During that sleepless night, she had become curious about a grandfather she never knew. That man was the father I never knew. In that life-changing phone call, my daughter introduced me to my father, not in person. He had been dead for 20 years, but as a person with features I could gaze at in old black and white photos, a life story I could investigate, living friends and relatives I could meet, and traits of character I could uncover, analyze, and compare with my own. I had lived for over 6 decades without seeing a picture of him. Until college, all I knew about my father was that he was missing in World War II. I assumed he had died in action on some nameless European battlefield. In the midst of my college years, I heard otherwise, in cryptic information, that my mother revealed to me in a side remark. But I had no interest in following up on anything I heard about my missing father. I was absorbed in my studies, then in my career, and then in my own growing family. I was not eager to get distracted by information about a man who clearly abandoned my mother and me as soon as I was born. Nor, as a developing young man, did I need a negative role model to identify with. Now, after all those years, I was offered a glimpse of the actual man. By the time of my daughter's call, I was secure and settled enough to open myself to the reality of what my father was like, and what happened to him when he did not return home after the war. I discovered that my father had a substantial career abroad after he abandoned my mother and me. My discoveries cleared up a host of mysteries, confusions, regrets, and resentments that I had lived with, not always consciously, for most of my life. I tell the full story of my discoveries and how I dealt with them psychologically in my new book, A Round of Golf with My Father. The new psychology of exploring your past to make peace with your present. The revelations about my father shook my sense of my own life's trajectory to its foundations. I felt drawn into a reconsideration of where I came from, and how I got to where I am now. Life review. Conducting a life review. The life review is a method of examining our pasts by searching memories, interviewing friends and relatives, and retrieving archival documents, such as skull and ancestry records. The method was developed by Robert Butler, a legendary psychiatrist who wrote a Pulitzer Prize-winning book on aging, and became the National Institute on Aging's first director. After Butler became a noted public figure, he did not have time to do further work on his life review method, but he left a number of descriptions of what he had in mind. I adopted Butler's descriptions for the purpose of understanding how my life was influenced by my missing father. Butler hypothesized that a life review can provide 3 personal benefits as we develop. 1. Acceptance of the events and choices that have shaped our lives, fostering gratitude for the life we've been given, in place of self-doubt, regret, and resentment. 2. An authentic, and thus robust, understanding of who we are and how we got to be that way, leading to a well-grounded, stable self-identity. And 3. The clarity in the directions we wish to take our lives going forward, reflecting what we have learned from the experiences and purposes that have given our lives meaning in the past. Butler believed that life reviews would promote intellectual and personal growth and wisdom throughout the lifespan. Among the psychological benefits he noted were the resolution of old conflicts, an optimistic view of one's future, a sense of serenity, pride in accomplishment, a capacity to enjoy pleasures, such as humor, love, nature, and contemplation, and an acceptance of the life cycle, the universe, and the generations. By finding the positive benefits of earlier experiences, including experiences that may have appeared unfortunate at the time, we can affirm the value of our lives and chart a hopeful path forward. As Butler wrote, one's life does not have to have been a success in the popular sense of the word. People take pride in a feeling of having done their best ... and sometimes from simply having survived against terrible odds. In my application of the life review method, I examined old memories, taking notes on whatever I could recall. I retrieved my old school records and my father's. I contacted friends and relatives who knew me and my family when I was young. I met with my father's still living friends and relatives, and interviewed them about what they knew. I searched historical archives for records of my father's military and foreign service, and I used the internet to locate newfound family members. Where possible, I validated the information I uncovered by cross-checking the accounts across my disparate sources. My life review uncovered a wealth of insights about how I developed my interests, skills, beliefs, and personal characteristics. Most startlingly, I found that my father attended the same private high school that I attended. It turned out that my mother, who never in her life spoke with me about my father, had arranged a scholarship for me to follow my father's educational path. It was a choice that always seemed mysterious to me, because I grew up in less than privileged circles where no one knew anything about such a path. This also revealed something to me about my mother's parental sense. Broken though her marriage was, she guided her only child in a direction she had learned about from her missing husband, and believed would be valuable for me.